Hello everyone, I'm Warren Butler, Marketing Director at Preact. Many thanks for joining me today to take a look at Click Dimensions marketing automation for Microsoft Dynamics 365. In this presentation, I'll be sharing some examples of the efficiencies that organizations frequently gain by embedding their marketing processes within Dynamics 365. If you're currently using MailChimp or perhaps a similar email marketing service on a standalone basis, we hope this will help you identify some of the benefits that you'd gain by managing these marketing activities within the Dynamics user interface. This is one in a series of webinars presented by the Apex Alliance, which is a group of UK-based Microsoft Gold partners that work together in delivering business solutions across the Microsoft technology stack. Alongside Preact, the founder members are Intelligy, Total Enterprise Solutions, and Wellington. Combined, we hold Microsoft's highest gold accreditations across products including Office 365, Azure, Microsoft Project, Exchange, Dynamics Nav, and Dynamics 365. In terms of our organization, Preact is a CRM partner that helps small and mid-sized businesses implement and support Dynamics 365 across its customer engagement apps. This includes marketing automation, and we're proud to be a leading Click Dimensions UK partner. Trading since 1993, today we support more than 7,000 Dynamics users across various industries. We hold Microsoft's top accreditation for cloud CRM solutions, and we were recently named to the prestigious Inner Circle, which includes Preact in the top 1% of Dynamics partners worldwide. So to kick off the main presentation, we often see that when email marketing isn't connected with CRM, marketing teams are often held back because they're spending significant time on admin activity, and this often involves manually transferring email lists and writing back unsubscribe instructions and other email activity into Dynamics. Also, from a GDPR standpoint, it can present more challenges to demonstrate compliance if marketing data is stored in a silo. Click Dimensions is a marketing platform that's embedded within the Dynamics 365 user interface, and it's a solution exclusively designed for Dynamics. This isn't available as a standalone service, and it doesn't work with any other CRM applications that are out there. So as a result, it's purely optimized for Dynamics. And what this means is that by managing all the marketing processes in one place alongside contacts and other business processes, Click Dimensions is helping marketing teams work smarter by increasingly focusing their efforts on creating personalized messages and gaining new insights that will help to increase engagement and better align activity with sales. For this introductory presentation, I'm going to be providing a very high-level overview of the main capabilities of Click Dimensions. So we're not going to do a deep dive into all of the areas of functionality that you see on screen at the moment. But hopefully this will give you a flavor of what the solution is capable of doing. And we can always pick up at another stage if you do want to have more of a deep dive into any of the capabilities that we talk about. So we're going to switch screen, and I'm going to go into an instance of Dynamics. Okay, so with Click Dimensions, it is a packaged solution, and once that's deployed, you have a lot of additional entities here within inside the Dynamics UI. And as you see here, this is all embedded with inside the native interface. So we're starting off here and we're looking at a list of our email templates. This will be all of the email assets that our organization manages. And the one I want to just show you today for this demonstration is a newsletter. I'm going to go straight into that now, which is here. This is a newsletter that we'll be sending out to customers. The first thing I want to call out is you can very easily personalize these templates from any of the data that you hold on the contact level. An obvious one being first name for a salutation, but this could be any data that you hold on the contact form. It could be product details, it could be a date, location, any sort of detail, and it's very easy to personalize those templates. It's a drag and drop editor, so as you would expect, it's very easy to just move things around the screen, drop elements where you want, and you can clone these templates. So when you've got your branding agreed, if you want to lock down certain elements, you can certainly do that, and you don't have to sort of go through that process again. You can just focus on creating the new content. You have an inbox preview function, which is quite a useful time saver. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be working, but it's quite a useful time saver, so you can actually see how the template looks in different browsers and different mobile devices. So I'm going to switch now to show you the same template that we were just looking on in my inbox. So here we've got the email that's been sent to me. It knows who I am, that's why it's personalized the first name. But I'm going to switch to the bottom of the email to draw your attention to some of the Click Dimensions forms that are available. So the first one would be a subscription preferences or unsubscribe option. So if we click on this here, it will open up a Click Dimensions form. Now, in this case, we haven't embedded it within a website. This is just on a landing page, but it means that recipients can choose what type of content that they receive, or they can opt out from everything. And those changes will be written back to Dynamics. So you don't have to do a manual process to update records based on unsubscriptions. It also means by giving people a choice of what content, it's more easier to personalize the messages that you send people with the aim of increasing the engagement. That's one example of a Click Dimensions form. As I say, you can embed them within your website. We do this ourselves. This is on our own Preact website, and we invite people to join our mailing list. And this uses our standard content management system, but the form element that you see here, which is a simple form, just an email field, this is populated from Click Dimensions. So it can look very consistent within your own branding and your own look and feel of the website. We've got another example here, which is in a pop-up form that you see. Again, this is a Click Dimensions form that people can pop in their email address and then join our mailing list. And when you're doing that, it's always useful to have a double opt-in process. So what you can have is an automated control that will send people a autoresponder message asking them to click a link. And then when they do click the link, they'll be added to your list. So an example of that would be if we go to this one. Actually, no, we'll come back to that one. Sorry about that. Okay, so we were going through the form. The other one I wanted to show you is the way that you can capture more data about people. Going back to the example you just seen, we're taking people onto our mailing list with just an email, so we don't tend to know that much information about them. But what it means is you want to try and build up more details. And you can do that as you start to build trust, share information that they find relevant. We can try a form like this. If we click on this, this is going to me as an individual. And what it's done is it's actually pulled some information. So here, it knows a little bit of detail. It's got my important details like my name, my email address, but it doesn't know what my favorite apple variety is. So I can then submit that into Dynamics and that will be processed. So it's a way of just building up a picture of people and using that insight to share more content. The final example of a Click Dimensions form is a survey. And we've got an example here, which is a satisfaction survey, which people can work through just to get more information about how well we might be doing. That's the front end of that process. To show you how we've done that at the back end. So in Click Dimensions, we can go to a survey questions. So the first stage is to define what questions do we want to ask in this survey. And we can have a mix of just simple text boxes, star ratings, radio buttons. Once we've defined that, we then need to create a survey form. And we can do that here as a web content, and we've got here satisfaction survey, and then we can go to the designer and open that one up. So this is the back end of what we were just looking at. We've got a list of questions, and we can just drop the questions into the survey designer form. In our case, it is arranged over a series of pages. Now with this, you can use some branching logic. So rather than have everybody answering the same bunch of questions, you can make it a bit more responsive. So you can send people down different tracks based on the answers that they've given. So a very sort of basic example of that here is we've got a skip logic rule that says if they give us a rating of 9 or 10 to that question, please rate your experience, we're going to skip to page 3. So essentially, we're missing out page 2 that says, how could we improve? I touched earlier on the automated actions that you can have when these forms are posted. So in this instance, as soon as that survey is posted by an individual, we've got some rules to set up. Firstly, it will add them to a marketing list. It can create a campaign response, and it will also send an autoresponder message as well. So that's a good way of just communicating more information to them. All of this information is written back into Dynamics. We can go to survey answers. So if we want to sort of analyze how we've done, it's good to sort of drill down on a specific question. So again, one of those questions was a star rating, rate your experience. We can create a personalized view that just focuses on that individual question. We can bring a chart into play here as well. And very easily just visualize how well we've performed. So if somebody's given us a poor rating, we can just double click on that and find out who that was and follow up with them accordingly. So that's just a quick roundup of some of the forms. Let's just go back to this original template that we were looking at. So we now want to schedule the template that we were just working on, and we will do that using Click Dimensions. So you can define obviously your subject line, you can have a pre-header as well, and you can schedule the emails for a particular date or have them sent out immediately. You can have the email sent from a generic name like we've got here, but if you wanted to, you can have them sent dynamically from a record owner for added personalization. Now, where you really start to save time compared to a separate email system that doesn't talk to Dynamics is in being able to connect up Dynamics marketing lists. So there's no need to export anything to Excel. You can just use the standard marketing list functionality within Dynamics. In this case, we've got 4 marketing lists associated with this. This defines our audience. But the big difference that you will have here once you've started to send out Click Dimensions emails is you can very easily start to include behavioral information as well. So if you want to start targeting people based on the links that they've clicked, all of that data is written back into Dynamics and you can start using that as well. Let's just complete this process. We can do this as a split test, which is a good way of just trying to take some of the guesswork out of understanding which subject lines worked best. People often decide whether they're going to open a message based on the subject line. So we can just be a bit more scientific here. We can have 2 different subject lines. We can test other elements as well, but in this case, we'll just keep it simple with the subject A and the subject B. We'll go through to next, and then we can set some rules here to define how many people we want to put into that split test. So we've got a decent sized email send. Let's say we're going to put 40% into a split test. So of that, 118 will get subject A, the other 118 will get subject B. We're trying to optimize our open rate in this instance, and we're going to have this done automatically, and we're going to wait 24 hours. So after 24 hours, we'll be able to see, or Click Dimensions will be able to see which subject line works best. It will then use that as the basis to send out on the remaining 60% in that. And then we can save and send. So that's an example of a classic newsletter style campaign that you'd send out. Certainly Click Dimensions supports automated campaigns as well, which is a big part of its capabilities, and we'll look at those now. So if we go to automated campaigns, so this is again a really useful way of saving a lot of time in sending more messages out without having marketing teams bogged down in a lot of administration. At the outset, you can define what rules that you want to set out, what emails need to be sent over a particular sequence, and what sort of methodology will go behind that. So if we go to open the builder, in this instance, we're using a scenario that we've attended a trade show. We've come back with a lot of new contact details, and we don't realistically just want to go and phone up all of those because that may run to sort of quite a significant number. What we would prefer to do would be to put them into an automated campaign. That will send out a series of drip messages, and it will just sort of route them down different paths based on how they interact. Unfortunately, it seems to be taking a little while to open up. Here we are. So in this instance, the process is triggered when contacts are pushed into a marketing list. We've got a marketing list which is referenced in the trade show that we've attended. When they are added to that marketing list, it pushes them into that nurture. The first stage is to send out an email, which is along the lines of thank you for visiting our stand. We can share some resources in that email, and we're just trying to understand how they engage with that. We'll then wait several days, and we'll ask the question, did they click any of the email, any of the links in that email? If they did, we'll send them down this path. If they didn't, we'll try and change tack and send them down a different path. But all the while, what we're trying to do here is establish a couple of touch points, and then we'll notify one of the sales managers, which means that they can be sort of farmed with some warmed up leads. They're not having to speculatively contact everybody. It's making best use of their time. And again, another example of aligning marketing activity with sales. So we've looked at two types of campaigns, the manual newsletter and the automated campaign. Let's now look at some of the reporting that is available through Dynamics. So we'll now go into a email that we've sent out before. This gives us access to some statistics. This is pretty much what you'd expect to see from any email system in terms of the open rates, the click-through details. So I'm not going to dwell on that too much. We do also have a heat map, which is quite useful. Certainly if you're designing emails, you just want to understand what type of links are working better. Is it the images? Is it text links? But also, if you've got quite a long email, how far down are people going? Is it just the stuff at the top of the email they're clicking? Do you need perhaps a more concise email? That's very high level, but what you also got here is the ability to drill down and actually see individual actions, which you're going to do now. So if we go to sent emails on this particular campaign, now this one was a very small email send. We only sent it to 3 recipients, but this could just as easily be several thousand people. So we're tracking to make sure that the message was delivered successfully, how many times they've opened it, if they've clicked it, were there any bounce issues, were there any spam complaints, and has the individual unsubscribed. So it really doesn't matter if it's somebody that's completely ignored the message or somebody like this that has opened the message numerous times. We've also got here a lead score. So with Click Dimensions, you have some tracking code that you can put onto your website, which means that you can follow people not just onto the landing page that they go to, but if they start sort of exploring other areas of the site, Click Dimensions will track that and report it back into Dynamics. And what it means is that you have a rolled up lead score that just is a very easy way of interpreting who the top people are from a specific campaign that we've sent out. And you can sort this however you want. In this case, just 3 people, so it's very easy to see who the most engaged person is. So if we click on that, and we'll go through to more of the supporting detail. So this is linked to the original email sent that we were just looking at. That's the campaign that we just sent out. Crucially, it's also linked back to the contact record as well. And we are tracking how many clicks and opens occurred. This is dynamic information, so if any more actions are tracked, these scores will change. But what we're also tracking is an audit of all of those underlying actions. So here you can see it's all pretty positive stuff. It's a mixture of clicks and opens. And you see here for the first time, we're not just tracking that somebody has clicked the email, we are tracking the specific URL, and that's really important detail so that when we're looking to build marketing lists, build personalized view, maybe even build triggers for automated campaigns, we can start to use that information that exists from within inside Dynamics. So if I go through to this contact record, and we can start to see how this will roll up. So on the contact record, it will show things like any surveys that they have completed. We saw earlier you can use Click Dimensions for surveys, and that can be reported here. We've actually got this in a very prominent position. So if this was one of our customers, we can see what recent surveys that they have taken. But we want to start off by looking at the emails that we've sent out. So if we go to sent emails, this will be a history of all of the emails that have been sent out to this specific contact. So it's the sort of thing that maybe an account manager might want to use to quickly see if marketing emails are getting through and what the person has looked at. So in this case, it's a bit of a mixed bunch. Most of the emails are getting through, some are being looked at more than others. Again, this is pretty high level detail. If we do want to get more granular information, we can go to email events. And this will provide like a click-by-click analysis. So again, we can see exactly which URLs this person has looked at. Now that's fine for when we're looking at an individual campaign and also when we're looking at an individual contact. But certainly you would want to aggregate this information. If you're sending out numerous campaigns, it's useful to look across the board. So this is where you can use just standard Dynamics functionality. This is a personalized view that we've created using the sent emails Click Dimensions entity. In this case, it's a very simplistic view. What we've done is we're trying to find who the most engaged people are from recent emails that we've sent out. So all we're doing is just using the lead score field as a criteria. We're looking to sort of identify people above a lead score of greater than 5, but we can certainly have more advanced criteria if we want to. So that's why it references various email subjects and across various contacts as well. Again, we can bring Dynamics charts into play here as well. So we can just drill down and we can look at one person and we can see what emails that individual has looked at as well. Okay, so those are a lot of the main points I wanted to cover in Click Dimensions. Let's just switch back to PowerPoint here. So you've seen there is a lot of data that comes into Dynamics, but it's really about how you manage that data. And Preact, as a partner, work with our Click Dimensions customers to sort of try and help them gain insights from that. So I'm just going to give you some examples of the type of work that we've done and the kind of sort of outputs that can be done to answer the questions that marketing teams often have. Firstly, a very basic one, which is how many emails are we sending out? Because all of this data is inside Dynamics, it's very easy to follow trends. So in this case, we can see that we're pretty consistent on a monthly basis for the number of emails that are being sent out. So that's something that can be very easily called off on demand from Dynamics and dropped into a marketing report. Another important couple of questions is, what are the trends in open and click-through rates? So here we see on the left-hand side, we're tracking our unique open rate across all of the campaigns that we've sent out on a monthly basis. And we can see there that that's more or less fairly stable. We're comfortably above the 30% line. But if we switch across to the screen and we look at the click-through rate, we can see that's actually on the slide. So this is where we are able to start being alerted to a downward trend here. And that should give us sort of cause to take some further action to understand why that is. Have we changed our template design? Perhaps we need to modernize it. Maybe we have altered it and it's not worked particularly well. What type of content have we shared? It's clearly not resonating as well as it was at the start of the year. As we mentioned with Click Dimensions, it writes back the unsubscribes automatically. And if you try to email somebody, those emails will be suppressed, but you still need to sort of have good visibility on your overall unsubscribe rate. And again, understand if there are any particularly concerning trends. In this case, that looks pretty good, well below 1%. But in other instances, again, it might suggest that there is a need for some work to maybe sort of refine the message and match it better to the audience, or perhaps some data cleanup work that is needed. One thing that we've done quite a bit with our customers is to try and help individual customers identify how responsive contacts are. So if we're sending out several Click Dimension emails over a period of time, to understand if we're looking on an individual contact, how well are those messages resonating? How frequently are they looking at them? So in this instance, we've configured Click Dimensions with a number of fields. So we're obviously rolling up how many times that we send an email to a particular person. And then we will track how many times they engage with that email. In this instance, we're calling it an imprint. And for an imprint, we are regarding that as either an open or a click action. So in this instance, we can see that we've sent the person 9 emails. They have had 2 imprints, and from that we can work out their engagement rate is 22%, so not great. We can also see that the last imprint is the 23rd of May. 78 days have elapsed since then. So this is shown on the contact record. So if you want to see at a glance on a particular contact, then that's great. We've got that visibility. But the real value is in being able to search on this sort of data and gaining insights for both sales and marketing as well. So one of the questions would be to understand which contacts are most responsive to our marketing emails. So this is an example of a personalized contact view. And this means that we can dynamically see if we filter by non-customers, these are people that have not previously bought from us, we can look through and see who the top people are. So in this case, we've got people here at 100%, the higher 90s, who are pretty much looking at every email that we send. They have a high number of obviously email imprints. In this case, we've sent a person 37, and they've looked at 36 imprints have been counted. And this is all recent as well, within 3 days. So it's exactly the sort of detail that can be shared with perhaps a telemarketing team, a sales team, so that they can focus their efforts on the people that are engaging in those messages. And it's really where marketing can be quite popular in giving them access to this detail. That's just one example of a contact view. There's plenty of others that you can have, and the sort of things that we've helped our customers with could be a view similar to what you just saw with account managers, to give them a view of their most engaged customers. Another one would be for sort of a marketing team to understand which contacts have had recent hard or soft bounces, especially with hard bounces. If you get a hard bounce, click dimensions will prevent any more emails going out to that person. Hard bounce might be because you've typed in the email address wrong or the name is wrong. So having a view that shows you the hard bounces will give you a listing that you can then take action on. You can also see who's unsubscribed. That might be an existing customer. You might want to follow up with those individuals as well to find out why. The engagement statistics as well are useful to understand who hasn't looked at the messages in a while. I showed you how many days had elapsed since the most recent contact. So if somebody hasn't looked at the emails in, say, 60 days, 100 days, whatever sort of threshold you want to have, that could be the trigger for perhaps a reactivation email. You could send out an email to say, hey, you're on our list, but you haven't responded to any of the emails. Do you still want to receive them? If they do, then all's well. If they don't, then perhaps that's a good justification for updating your database and removing those individuals. And there will also be some people that are perhaps on your data list that have never opened the messages previously, and if you sent out repeated messages and they haven't looked at any of them, then really that's dragging your metrics down and it's not really best practice. So in those instances, that's probably justification for moving those off again if they haven't responded to a reactivation campaign. So just to tidy things up and to wrap it up, in terms of the Click Dimensions solution, as you've just seen, this is fully native with Inside Dynamics 365. It hasn't been adapted for any other systems. It's specifically created for Dynamics. It is a fully supported solution. Click Dimensions provide their own support, but there is also a vibrant partner community. Preact is one of many Click Dimensions partners that are out there that are helping organizations do more with the solution. And also, I have to say as well that sort of Click Dimensions are fully committed to this. It is a long-standing solution, and they have a sort of a quite exciting sort of roadmap to further develop this, and all of its efforts are very much geared towards marketing automation for Dynamics users. So those are the main points that I wanted to cover today. I'm going to stay online for a little while longer to pick up any questions that you've got, but hopefully that's been a useful introduction for you to understand how Click Dimensions empowers marketing teams to work smarter within Dynamics 365. If you do want to take a closer look at any of the points covered, and also a lot of the points that I wasn't able to cover because we didn't have enough time today, I'll be very happy to do that. But I'm going to pause for a few minutes just to see what questions that have come through.